In 1956, in the small town of Defiance, Ohio, a housewife named Evelyn shares a modest home with her 10 children and her husband, Kelly, whose longtime struggle with alcohol drains much of the family's limited income. To help keep everyone fed and clothed, Evelyn leans on a popular mid-century tactic among stay-at-home mothers: entering contests. She mails off jingles to every promotion she can find, and while she has a knack for clever rhymes, her real edge is sheer persistence. By submitting entries under each child's name, she multiplies her odds of winning every single time. Kelly, meanwhile, earns an honest but meager wage as a factory machinist, much of which disappears into booze. Then one afternoon, the family gets bad news. The landlord's daughter is getting married, and he wants the house back. They have 3 weeks to move. Kelly tries to reassure the kids. Mom always figures something out, and, as if on cue, the letter arrives. One of Evelyn's many jingles has just won a $5,000 grand prize. The household erupts in celebration. Neighbors drop by to offer congratulations, yet Kelly bristles when people say how lucky he is to have such a smart wife. Using the prize money as leverage, Evelyn and Kelly secure a bank loan to buy a house of their own. Evelyn asks to sign the papers as co-buyer, but the bank officer says it isn't required. Kelly signs a loan, insisting it's a husband's duty since he earns the paycheck and will handle the mortgage. Evelyn, who knows the deal would never have happened without her contest winnings, bites her tongue. After the move, another package arrives. Evelyn has won a full-size freezer. Kelly grumbles that it eats floor space and will spike the electric bill, though what really bothers him is the unspoken pressure to keep it stocked. Weeks later, Kelly is home alone, half drunk, listening to a baseball game on the radio. His team falls behind, his temper flares, and the shouting draws angry shouts from the neighbors. That only fuels his rage. He storms through the kitchen, smashing whatever he can reach, targeting the new freezer most of all. Evelyn herds the children outside and runs to find the police. The officers show up but quickly accept Kelly's offer of a drink, chat about the ball game, and tell Evelyn he simply needs to sleep it off. Even the parish priest stops by when Evelyn asks for guidance. Yet his advice is little help. Kelly, he says, shoulders the heavy burden of providing for a large family, so Evelyn should work even harder to make a peaceful home for her husband. Things weren't always as difficult as they are now. There was a time when Evelyn had dreams of her own. She used to be an aspiring writer, even working as the resident wit for a local newspaper. Back then, Kelly was also a different man. He had charm, talent, and purpose, singing in a successful band that kept them surrounded by fun and laughter. Their early years together were full of lightness. But everything changed after a tragic car accident left Kelly with a serious throat injury, robbing him of his singing voice. After that, Kelly took a job at a factory to provide for the family, but the loss of his voice weighed heavily on him. The disappointment never really left, and over time, it grew into depression. Evelyn, knowing all he had given up, continued to be understanding and patient, even when things got hard. The morning after his angry outburst, Evelyn reminds Kelly that they need money to buy milk. Their daughter, Tough, doesn't hold back. She openly scolds her father for spending too much of their money at the liquor store. Kelly, feeling ashamed, tries to redeem himself by promising he'll bring home one item from the grocery store every day until he manages to fill the freezer himself. But the money Kelly leaves on the counter before heading out isn't enough to buy the milk. Evelyn starts rummaging through coat pockets and old jars all around the house, trying to scrape together the difference, but still falls short. Just in time, the mailman shows up, right after the milkman, delivering a letter with yet another small cash prize. Evelyn takes the money and uses it to pay for the milk. Not long after, Evelyn wins a much bigger prize, a shopping spree at the local grocery store. Excited, she asks each family member what they've always wanted to try. The kids rattle off answers like candy, and Kelly, with a bit of longing in his voice, admits he's always wanted to taste shrimp cocktail. When the day of the spree arrives, Evelyn is more than prepared. She's coordinated with the butcher ahead of time. Her chosen cuts are already wrapped and waiting. She's also spoken with the clerks, who agree to help push items into the cart, even though their job is only supposed to be supervisory. Her kids stand by with watches in hand, calling out time updates to help her pace the run and prioritize the different aisles. Even Kelly gets involved. He brings some oil to grease the wheels of the cart, making sure it rolls as smoothly as possible. The shopping spree turns out to be a huge success. Evelyn moves quickly, filling the cart to overflowing with high-quality groceries and specialty items. When they return home, Kelly sees the freezer now packed to the brim, and though he cried at the store in awe of what Evelyn accomplished, his mood sours again. Seeing her fill the freezer before he could makes him feel like he's being replaced in his role as the family's provider. While the children celebrate and dig into new treats with joy, Kelly grows more agitated. He begins digging through the freezer in search of something simple, just a burger, but instead throws out item after item in frustration. His anger gets the better of him, and he ends up tossing a handful of food out into the garden. Evelyn doesn't engage. She stays calm, cheerful, and keeps the focus on the kids, which only further deflates Kelly's tantrum. Defeated, he slinks over to the counter, grabs a can of Spam, and eats alone. But Evelyn still has room for kindness. She sets a shrimp cocktail in front of him, the one thing he had said he wanted, and gently invites him to join the family at the table. Overwhelmed, Kelly breaks down and cries again. Over the next 4 years, Evelyn continues to win contest after contest. The prizes vary, from practical things like clothes and groceries to more surprising items like free window installations. Anything useful, they keep. Anything extra, like the pony they once received, they sell to cover bills. Evelyn's persistence and ingenuity continue to keep the household afloat. The 3 oldest children eventually grow up and leave home. The eldest daughter goes off to nursing school, and the 2 oldest boys are signed to play baseball with the Detroit Tigers. Evelyn is immensely proud of all 3 of them. By 1960, life hasn't necessarily gotten easier, and Kelly is going through yet another bad night. Drunk again, he starts complaining loudly about the house they live in, calling it a hole and blaming it for why the kids left in the first place. Meanwhile, Evelyn stays focused on her contest entries, working on her next round of jingles. But Kelly can't leave her in peace. He begins throwing rhymes back at her, except his are laced with insults. He accuses the entire family of being too happy all the time, of laughing too much, but the kids just laugh harder, thinking he's joking around with his rhymes and not realizing how bitter he actually is. One afternoon, Kelly comes home earlier than usual after spending part of his wages on more alcohol. When a milkman stops by, Evelyn realizes they don't have any money to pay him. She begs him to leave the milk anyway and promises she'll have the money by next week. The milkman reluctantly agrees, warning her that if she doesn't pay up by then, he'll have to take them off his delivery route. When Evelyn returns inside holding the bottles, Kelly explodes in anger. He yells at her, accusing her of not working, claiming she just stays at home writing rhymes all day while he breaks his back at the factory. In the heat of the moment, he grabs Evelyn, and in the struggle she stumbles, dropping the bottles. They crash to the floor and shatter, glass flying everywhere, and Evelyn ends up with cuts on her hands. Seeing the blood, Kelly instantly breaks down in tears, apologizing over and over. He offers to drive Evelyn to the hospital, but their daughter Tuff stops him. She reminds him sharply that he's the one who hurt her. The rest of the children rush to the neighbor's house, and it's the woman next door who ends up taking Evelyn to see a doctor. By the time Evelyn returns that night, her hands are wrapped in thick bandages. Kelly tries to greet her gently, offering her a cup of tea, but Evelyn just asks to change into something more comfortable first. Since she can't use her hands, Kelly helps her get dressed. During this quiet moment, Evelyn finally opens up. She tells him how deeply it hurt when he mocked her contests, how those silly rhymes and little prizes are what help keep the household running. Kelly listens and admits he is proud of her, but he also confesses that the teasing from his coworkers is hard to take. They laugh at him for having a wife who's the real breadwinner, and it stings more than he likes to admit. Not long after that, Evelyn wins a couple of big prizes, a car they plan to sell, and a fully paid weekend trip to New York. She starts making preparations for the trip, but then bad news strikes again. They get a phone call from the police station. One of her sons has been caught stealing from a woman's purse. Evelyn bails him out, and when they return home, Kelly is furious. He lashes out and hits the boy. Now the entire family is on edge, nervous to be left alone with him. Evelyn decides to cancel the trip to New York. To try to make up for what he's done, her son agrees to join the army, which is offered as an alternative to going to jail. He also offers to teach Evelyn how to drive, but she turns him down, explaining there isn't enough gas in the car to waste on driving lessons. Some days later, Evelyn receives a letter from a group of contesting housewives based in Payne. They've heard about her and want to invite her to join their regular meetings. Payne is only 85 miles away, but when Evelyn brings this up to Kelly, he immediately refuses to drive her there, even if they somehow manage to get the money for gas. He says he doesn't want to waste his precious Saturday sitting in a car while Evelyn enjoys herself with her new friends. Not long after, a bit of Evelyn's luck seems to rub off on one of her sons, who wins 25 gallons of gasoline in a football pool. Unfortunately, this small victory leads to another argument. Kelly and the boy begin bickering about who actually owns the prize. They had both entered the pool multiple times using the names of the siblings, and now they're arguing over who came up with the idea in the first place and who deserves the win. Evelyn steps in and ends the fight by making them split the prize in half, 12.5 gallons each. Her son is grateful for her fairness and agrees to use his share to drive Evelyn to the meeting. But just when everything seems settled, another issue comes up. One of the younger kids brings Evelyn a bouquet of flowers as a sweet goodbye present. The problem is, he stole them from the neighbor's gardens. Because of this, Evelyn has to stay behind for the rest of the day, walking from house to apologize and trying to make things right with the neighbors. She even offers to pay back the damages caused. The meeting in Payne has to wait. 3 years go by, and now it's 1963. Tuff has learned how to drive, and she's the one who will finally take Evelyn to meet her pen pals in person. On the way there, the car starts to overheat, which worries Tuff. But Evelyn insists they keep driving until they find a mechanic shop. When they finally pull into one, the mechanic informs them that it'll take at least an hour to get the car fixed. Tuff, frustrated, suspects that Kelly knew all along that the car had issues and chose not to fix it just to make things difficult for them. But Evelyn, as always, defends him. She doesn't think Kelly is being deliberately cruel, just forgetful and careless. Then Tuff gets quiet and asks her mother if she ever regrets marrying Kelly. She wonders if Evelyn ever thinks about how she spent her life stuck in that house, never really having a life of her own. Evelyn replies that she doesn't regret it at all, because she loves her children too much to ever feel that way. Eventually, after waiting out the repairs, Evelyn finally makes it to the meeting. She has a truly wonderful time with the other contesting housewives. They spend the afternoon exchanging rhymes, reviewing each other's work, and talking about the fact that contests are expected to disappear in the next year. The women are warm and welcoming, and the group's leader has even saved one final contest entry form just for Evelyn. It's a Dr. Pepper contest with a generous prize, and they all agree she deserves the shot because she needs the money most. By the time Evelyn and Tuff return home, it's already quite late. They find the front door locked, so they go around to the backyard, only to discover that all the kids are outside in the garden. Kelly had taken them to the movies earlier, but at some point he got tired and decided to leave them outside, locking the house. The back door is locked too, so Evelyn starts shouting for him. Kelly finally opens the door and, with no shame at all, scolds Evelyn for being a little late. In his frustration, Kelly grabs Evelyn by the arm, hard enough that the kids instinctively jump in, pulling him back to shield their mother. Something in Evelyn finally breaks. She snatches a bowl of jelly from the table and hurls it at Kelly, splattering him from shoulders to shoes. She makes it clear he, not the children, will be the one cleaning that mess. And yet, almost in the same breath, Kelly tries to soften things by unveiling two surprises. He's brought home steaks for dinner and, in a rare gesture of support, purchased a new writing desk so Evelyn can finally have her own workspace. Not long afterward, another blow lands. A loan officer calls to say they're late on a second mortgage payment. Evelyn is confused. They never took out a second mortgage. That's when she learns Kelly secretly signed for it 3 years ago. Now the bank wants $4,000 within 30 days. Evelyn gathers the children and breaks the news herself, believing it's better they hear the truth directly. When Kelly comes home, he admits there's no money left. He tries to explain that he only wanted to feel like he had a little cash in his pocket again, suggesting they could simply go back to renting. Evelyn can hardly bear it. She reminds him this is her house, earned through her hard-won contest money. At dinner, she warns the kids they may have to split up and stay with aunts or uncles until they find somewhere new. Tears roll around the table. Later, when Evelyn pulls the final item from the freezer, she finally unplugs the appliance that once symbolized abundance. She finds the children in another room, praying quietly for help. Just then, the milkman returns. Evelyn pleads for one last delivery. He agrees to leave the milk and wait for payment until next week. He even offers to bring his family's laundry over so Evelyn can work off the debt, but she takes it as a blow to her pride and declines. Hope flickers when Dr. Pepper's contest office calls. They'd like to interview her in person. Evelyn rallies the entire household to scrub the place top to bottom, and they spend their last dollar on a few bottles of Dr. Pepper, so it looks as though they're faithful customers. The interview seems to go well, but the winner won't be announced for weeks. The family steels themselves for losing the house. Kelly tries to sound optimistic, telling everyone to hang on, but the children snap back, reminding him he's the one who gambled away their stability. The tension pushes Evelyn over the edge. She rushes to her room and breaks down. Kelly follows, trying to reassure her with his usual line. You always think of something. This time she fires back. She's no saint, and now it's his turn to act. Days crawl by. Meals get smaller as Evelyn scrapes together whatever's left in the pantry, and boxes slowly fill with their belongings. Then, just as Evelyn reaches to hang up on yet another phone call, she hears the news she'd barely dared to hope for. She's the grand prize winner of the Dr. Pepper contest. The award includes a trip to Switzerland, a brand new car, and a cash payout of just over $3,000. The moment the phone call ends, everyone in the house explodes with excitement. Everyone except Tuff. She bolts upstairs in tears. Evelyn tells Kelly to keep the other kids occupied, then heads to Tuff's room. Inside, her daughter blurts out the fear that nothing will ever really change. She believes Kelly will always be the same. Evelyn doesn't argue. Instead, she gently reminds Tuff that she has an entire future ahead of her. College, a career, a life completely of her own choosing. So this chapter won't define her forever. Evelyn never does take that trip to Switzerland. She cashes in the prize money to wipe out the mortgage instead. Still, she gets a small taste of luxury when Dr. Pepper flies her to Texas and crowns her queen for a day. For once, someone else makes the beds and does the dishes while Evelyn simply relaxes. After that, she never wins another big contest, and she never travels again, but she finds contentment watching each child grow up and head out into the world. Years roll on. Kelly passes away first, and Evelyn discovers he'd quietly banked every pension check in a hidden account with her name on it, leaving her financially secure for the rest of her days. When Evelyn herself dies some time later, all 10 children come home to honor her life and sort through the family belongings. Tuff, now a writer, chooses to keep her mother's old typewriter. In real life, every one of Evelyn's children built a good future. Most married, raised families, and held solid careers. True to her word, the real Tuff eventually published a book telling the remarkable story of her mother's perseverance.